Going saga of the closure of Gupta bank accounts by South African banks. Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan has gone to court seeking a declaratory order that he as Finance Minister has no powers to intervene in the matter as demanded by the Gupta family. The Financial Intelligence Centre plays a role in the economy by combating financial crimes like illicit transfers and money laundering, and it reports to the Minister of Finance.
This year, the Gupta's holding company, Gutpa, announced that all the country's major banks had closed their bank accounts without reason. The banks steadfastly refused to divulge their reasons, despite public protestations by Gutpa that the move was unfair and would destroy thousands of jobs. Cabinet appointed a task team of ministers to resolve the impasse with the banks, all to no avail. Gutpa appealed to Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan to intervene, but he advised them to approach the court instead, an option which Gutpa has thus far chosen not to pursue. Now, Gordhan himself has taken to the North Gauteng High Court regarding the matter. Key to his case is correspondence he received from the Financial Intelligence Centre citing large transfers of cash from Gupta bank accounts to an Indian bank called the Bank of Baroda. So, what exactly is the Financial Intelligence Centre and their role?
FIC, in short, is an act of legislation. It's the Financial Intelligence Centre, which was set up in 2003, and then it actually became operational around 2008. A lot of the countries, especially the G7 countries, are signatories to this legislation, and its aim is largely to prevent illegal money transfers, things like funding of terrorism, so big chunks of money that comes through financial sectors which are unaccounted for, which then destabilize the various states from a terrorism point of view. Anything that is unaccounted for, which is therefore deemed to be illegal, and especially if it tends to undermine the stability of the state.
The Reserve Bank regulates banks in the country, but the Financial Intelligence Centre reports to National Treasury.
FIC is an act of legislation. It's a piece of legislation which is passed through the Finance Ministry. The actual centre itself, the institution, sits within National Treasury because as an accounting authority, it is accountable to National Authority through Minister of Finance. So its role essentially, it is there to govern the various banks' activities. So if a bank, which is a member of FIC, suspects any large amounts of cash going through people's accounts, they have a duty to report to this FIC, which then investigates and makes pronouncement as allowed for in the legislation.
The Gordhan case is sure to shine the spotlight on the country's bank regulations and if they've treated the Guptas unfairly or not.
From my knowledge of FIC, the regulation, I think the banks have acted well within the law. The law requires them that if they pick up any suspicious transactions, they have to report them to FIC, and FIC then has to take up those reports and actually do what they need to do. In this case, obviously, they instructed the bank to close those accounts. So the merits of the case as to whether they needed to close them or not, whether the amounts were suspicious or unusual, or whether it was money laundering, that I think is up to the law to actually determine. But from where I stand looking at the regulation, I think the regulation works.
Gordhan has cited 21 respondents in his court case. They include 14 Gupta-linked companies, the country's 4 major banks, Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago, and the Director of the Financial Intelligence Centre. Mbongeni Muchwa, SABC News, Johannesburg.